awesome? I'm Ava J and this is Bookish Pixie. So I have an addition to my bookshelf. I got advanced reader copies of Beyond the Red this week, which is cool because I get to hold it now in my hand like an actual book. And it's got pages. It's exciting. Getting advanced reader copies, however, made me think about how long it takes to get published. So today I want to talk a little bit about why it takes so long. First of all, there are a lot of steps you need to take before you even get to the publishing part of the process. I've broken down a lot of those steps in some vlogs, so I'll link to those below. The super speedy version is first you need to hone your craft, which takes a while, and then eventually you're going to write the book that will get you published. But you don't know which manuscript that's going to be, and writing each one of those manuscripts, if you are serious about trying to get them published, is going to take a long time, because first you have to first draft it, which for some people takes weeks and other people's takes months or years, and then you need to edit it, and then you need to revise it with critique partners, and then you need to query it. All of that time from writing to actually getting an agent takes many people years. But eventually you do get an agent, and then you might end up doing more revisions with them, depending on who you're working with and what their plan for your book is. If you do revisions with your agent, then that could take you many more months. Eventually, however, you'll reach the point where your agent agrees that your book is ready to be sent out on submission. And then it honestly feels like you're hurrying up to wait because you have to wait for feedback. The thing is, and this is true for both querying and going on submission, it takes a lot longer to say yes than it does to say no. The reason this is because it's a lot faster to read part of a manuscript and say no, or all of a manuscript and say no, than it is to get through the many steps of the process that lead up to yes. In the case of submission, how many steps kind of depends editor to editor and publishing house to publishing house, but generally there will be readers who will read a manuscript either before or after the editor does, and then the editor has to read it and love it, and then the editor has to get other people to love it, or at least to love the idea of it. So sometimes editors will get other people to read it to help support them, and sometimes it'll go straight to acquisitions, but either way, other people need to be on board with it. The main takeaway is a lot of people need to say yes, and there are a lot of things that need to line up just right for you to get the offer, which again takes time and can vary from several days in super rare cases to several months. But eventually you'll get past all that and get the news you want to hear, that the book has been sold, or at least you have an offer, and it will be published. From that point, you still usually have a year to 2 years until publication day. After the verbal offer, there is a negotiation period between your agent and your editor, who will work out the nitty-gritty details of the contract in a way that works well for everyone. This negotiation period, while I guess in theory could go quickly, from what I've heard and experienced, usually takes several weeks to several months. And then you sign on the dotted line and you have more waiting to do. First of all, your book is not the only book that imprint or that publisher is publishing, so there are lots of books ahead of you. Secondly, there are tons of editing rounds left. You're going to be working on many passes with your editor, and you're going to be doing copy edits and proofreading, and basically you are going to be working on your book a lot before you see that final version. Then there's a lot of behind the scenes and design related stuff and promotional work. Your book needs to be designed, the cover needs to be designed, your interior design needs to be worked out, and there are many rounds of approval for each of those. Then your book needs to be promoted to distributors and libraries and bookstores, and I don't really know the details of this process, but it is a whole nother process in and of itself. Then advanced reader copies need to be printed, and electronic advanced reader copies need to be distributed, and eventually final edits will be submitted, and the final copies of your book will be printed and distributed to stores. So the point is, all that time takes the time it does because there is a ton involved. When you're traditionally publishing, putting together a book is not a solitary thing. It involves teams of people who are all working on different parts of the publishing process, and all of that goes behind every single book. So that's why books take so much time to get published, but the end result is pretty awesome. So that's all I got for today. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and comment, and I'll see you guys next week.